Welcome back to the Outlet with Kei-Touch. Yes, we are honoring the mothers. Happy Mother's Day weekend again. You have the most difficult job of all, and we love you and we appreciate you. Oh, I'm just so excited. I have an exclusive interview with Mildred D. Muhammad 20 years later. Mildred D. Muhammad, award-winning global keynote speaker, CEO and founder of My F.O.C.U.S, LLC, and ex-wife of the DC Sniper. MildredMuhammad.com, MyFocusLLC.com. 20 years ago, her ex-husband, John Allen Muhammad, known as the DC Sniper, terrorized the DMV area in October of 2002 with a series of coordinated shootings, killing 10 people. It all appeared to be random attacks. Mildred's story is a case of international child custody and domestic abuse. And today, she is going to share her story here on the Outlet with Kei-Touch. Mildred, welcome to the Outlet with Kei-Touch.
Thank you so much for that wonderful introduction and for this opportunity to share my story and to address your community.
Well, I want to start off by saying Happy Mother's Day to you.
Well, thank you. And I would like to say to the mothers who have lost their children, mothers whose children have been taken through custodial interference, mothers whose children are missing, those who are no longer with us, I want you to know that we are praying for you. And you are still a mother. Because I remember when John took my children, our children, out of the country, excuse me, and it was 18 months before I saw them again. The question that was always in my mind was, am I still a mother? Will my children remember me when I get them back? Will they love me? Will they recognize my voice? Or did he do the ultimate, which most abusers do when they have the children, to punish the mother indefinitely by killing the children? And I thought many times that John would wait until our children were asleep and shoot them in the head. And I didn't know where they were. And nobody would tell me where they were, although there were people that knew. They didn't tell me. And so for 18 months, I wondered where they were. We hear reports every day of children being missing or taken. And we think about the children, but we don't think about the mom, the pain they must be suffering and going through. Even today, they don't know where their children are. I just want them to know that we think about you. We love you. We're praying for you. We're praying for you to get good news that your children are coming back to you or that you found them. We have not forgotten about you at all. Happy Mother's Day to you as well.
Wow. See, Mildred is just such a special woman. Mildred, you are the epitome of strength, brilliance, courage, perseverance, and determination. I am blessed to know you and to have been impacted by your light. My Shiro!
Couldn't go by without addressing the mothers that sometimes we forget about, you know? Can't forget about them.
Yes.
Even those that are in hiding in that underground railroad for victims of domestic violence that have had to change their identity and their children's identity in order to survive.
Wow. And Mildred, I didn't do you justice on all the titles you have.
It's all good, girl.
Okay, because I left off author, international speaker for the United States Department of State. No, I'm going to list some of them. Hold on. Certified consultant with the U.S. Department of Justice, Office on Victims of Crime, certified domestic violence advocate, domestic abuse survivor, domestic abuse. You're just a crusader in general. Best-selling author, CNN contributor, trainer, educator, and just a wonderful person. You can see all her titles on myfocusllc.com or mildredmuhammad.com. I always tease you on that.
I know you do, and it's all good.
It's all good. So I want to go back to your story.
Okay.
You were once quoted saying, "What most people don't know is that I was the intended target. He was killing innocent people to cover up my murder so he could come in and get custody of our children." And you just spoke to that some. And why do you believe that most people don't know that you were the intended target?
Because law enforcement did not make that an issue when they gave that story to the media. Remember, the police are the ones that give the narrative to the media, and the media reports what the police have told them. They don't go off on their own. So while law enforcement told me that, "Ms. Muhammad, didn't you know you were the target?" they didn't tell the public. And so the public began to believe that I was saying this all on my own, that I was trying to capitalize off of this terrible incident, that I was trying to make a name for myself, which I was not. A lot of people don't know that. Even when I go to conferences to speak, I remember sitting at a table and the ladies at the table were talking about me, why? But they didn't recognize me. So why is she here? This has nothing to do with domestic violence. And so when they read my introduction and they said, "We'll welcome Mildred Muhammad to the stage," I stood up and they all looked shocked. So a lot of people don't know. And it's important that they do know I, of my own, did not make that statement. Law enforcement told me that I was the intended target, and shortly thereafter put me and my children, my sister, and my brother-in-law in protective custody until they found him.
Wow.
They don't say that on documentaries when you see all these reports about the D.C. sniper on TV. They leave that part out. They just want you to believe that two black men in a Chevy was embezzling the government for $10 million to be put on a stolen credit card. That's easy to believe, right?
That's something. But that's why you're here on the outlet with Kei-Touch, to share your story. Information is power. And so educate us. What is domestic abuse and what is domestic violence?
So domestic violence is the umbrella that term is used in order to draw you in to this issue. Violence, because we are a visual people, has more appeal than abuse. So you have the posters with the black eyes and the busted lips because we need to, as a society, we need to see your pain. So if I don't see your pain, then your pain does not exist. That's why it's every 9 to 15 seconds a woman is abused. But we don't go back to the first assault. We don't talk about the 1 to 8 seconds because that is the abuse side where there are no physical scars. The verbal assault is the first assault. Then comes emotional, psychological, spiritual, economic stalking, and then comes the violent attack. But in order for me to get your attention, I have to focus on the physical assault. 20% of victims are physically assaulted. 80% are not. Just like with the news, we don't concentrate on the 80% that the sun is shining. We concentrate on the 20% that is going to rain. Same thing.
Wow. 20 years later, we have Mildred D. Muhammad, a woman of so many titles, someone I am so blessed to know. And again, she exudes and she is the epitome of strength, of courage. She's a crusader. And even though she went through this tragic situation, she has used this opportunity, taken the opportunity to help others and help them and educate others and make us all aware of domestic abuse and violence. This is abuse without scars. Abuse without scars. 20 years later, exclusive interview here on the Outlet with Kei-Touch with Mildred D. Muhammad, MyFocus LLC.com, MildredMuhammad.com. It's the Outlet with Kei-Touch. Stay with us. Welcome back to the Outlet with Kei-Touch. Exclusive interview, Mildred D. Muhammad, 20 years later. MildredMuhammad.com, MyFocusLLC.com. 20 years later. Mildred, you know, they say the more things change, the more things stay the same. What has changed in the past 20 years with domestic abuse and violence?
What has changed is that there are more domestic violence task force in the police department. There's a domestic violence task force in the White House. There's a domestic violence task force in all cities in the United States. There are some laws that have been placed on the books. Doesn't necessarily mean that they're being enforced. But the one thing we have to get away from, 20 years later, we're still asking the victim, why do you stay? 20 years later, we're still asking that question. Why don't we ask the abuser, why do you abuse? 20 years later, we're still asking victim blaming questions. For example, what prevented you from leaving? How do I answer that question? The question should be, what did the abuser do that prevented you from leaving? We're trying to rescue the abuser now. We don't want to ask those questions that point directly at the cause of a victim not being able to leave. Every victim knows that they are victims of domestic violence. Every victim wants to leave, but every victim doesn't know how. So we have to get away from blaming the victim, because when you ask a victim, why do you stay? You're putting the total responsibility of the abusive relationship on the victim, as if he or she has the ability to stop the abuser from hurting them. Why would you do that? And even when she leaves, up to 75% of victims that try to leave an abusive relationship are hurt or killed. And sometimes the abuser will go on with his life and will actually get his next partner, convince that person to terrorize his previous victim.
Wow.
So stop telling me, why don't you leave? Start asking me, how can you help? How can I help you? No one asks a victim that, because they're too busy telling them what to do, not knowing that you're sounding just like an abuser.
Now, that's a good
come
tip.
to you and say, Keisha, I've been having a hard time. John, he's talking to me like this. And your first response is, well, John wouldn't do anything like that. You have automatically taken the side of the abuser. Some people say, well, I'm just trying to say something to convince them to leave. Why? Why do you believe you have more insight into the victim's relationship than the victim does? She lives it every day. Mm. What can you possibly say that will convince her to leave? Oh, I know, because you know better. Oh, I know, because no right-minded person would be in an abusive relationship. You think the person just picked an abuser right up front? So what you think an abuser going to come up and say, hey, so Keisha, you the bomb, girl. What I want to do, I want to have a relationship with you. I'm going to prevent you from succeeding. I'm going to isolate you and make you feel like you're nothing. In the meantime, I'm going to take all your money, make you feel like you're on top of the world when you're nothing. And I'm going to just actually beat you up. Would you like to be in a relationship with me? What you going to say, yeah?
I'm going to run.
No abuser is going to do that. Exactly. So if I know that as an abuser, then I need to groom you to make you feel like I'm the man of your dreams. Well, I'm the woman of your dreams. You've been praying for me. I'm your soulmate. I'm your twin flame. I'm everything you ever asked for. And right when I think I know I got you, that's when I'm going to pull back. Then you're going to be, well, what happened? Why did you do this? I thought you, because nowadays men want you to chase them. And if you're not up for the chase, then they pull back. You really have to have your boundaries in check when you attempt to be in a relationship with anyone for the first time. Understand what you want. If that's not what you want, you can walk away. But now even that's scary, because you could be killed for saying no. So now women have to maneuver how to respond to a person, a man or a woman, when they don't want to be in a relationship. This is getting worse. It's morphed into something more. It's getting worse.
I have to interject real quick, Mildred, because something you said reminded me of someone I know. About 5 years ago, his daughter was a senior in high school and met a guy on a dating app. And this is here locally in the DMV area. Mind you, 18 years old, high school senior. She met the guy and decided she didn't want to date him or pursue it further, spend some time with him and let him know. But he killed her. He killed her. And this is not even getting into a relationship. So what you're saying is it is very scary. It is very scary. Mm-hmm. Very scary.
And the when you don't know someone and you know this person likes you and you don't want to pursue the relationship, do not meet that person in person. Don't go to that person and tell them anything, because you don't know them like that. Don't do that. Do it over the phone, do a text, and then block them. Don't do that. It's the emotional stability of people is not there anymore. Rejection is not something everybody is taught to handle.
Wow.
Don't do it in person. I know we feel, I owe this person an explanation and I want to do it. I want to see him face to face, FaceTime him. That's face to face. Do not go in public. Do not meet them. When you are a victim of domestic violence and you leave your place, you leave that person and they say, oh, well, I just want to talk about how we can get back together. Don't go. Many victims have been killed, injured, acid thrown in their faces, set on fire, because you still had a level of trust when you met that person. I remember John saying to me, why don't we just go somewhere and talk to iron this out. Every fiber in my being said, don't go. And I did not go. Do not go. Don't go with somebody. Don't go, because you don't know if you're putting your friend in harm's way. Don't go. Do it over the phone. Do it over FaceTime. Text them. Call them. Don't go in person. This is where we are right now. Your safety has to be a priority for you.
Wow.
Taking a life is nothing now. And this guy's thought was, if I can't have you, nobody will have you. I don't mind going to jail. They don't mind going to jail. They don't mind. Your life is worth nothing. Don't take that chance. Email, text, FaceTime, phone call. Wow. You meet somebody for the first time, they should not know where you live.
Thank you.
You should meet them out somewhere. You should take at least a month or two before you bring them to your residence. No, it's too scary. Not saying everybody will do that, but you're still meeting a stranger regardless. And online dating, you got to do extra homework for that. Got to do extra homework. It's not like meeting people like we used to do back in the day before the internet. You meet somebody at the store, or you meet somebody, at least that person was in your location. People are traveling to see you. You don't know what they're leaving at home. You don't know who you're meeting. And we already know that the pictures that they have online are not the picture when you see them.
They're catfishing.
Catfishing.
Wow. Mildred D. Muhammad. Mildred D. Muhammad. See, we're trying to get her to share her story, but look, her story is helping others. And this is why she's given all this information, tips for bystanders. Mildred, how can I tell if someone I know is in a domestic abuse situation? We're talking about domestic violence without physical scars.
You know your friend is experiencing abuse. You can tell. You know they're quiet. They're not as open anymore. They don't go out with you like they used to. They make excuses when you set up things. And you can ask them.
And ask them. And the first thing I say is, how can I help you if I suspect something is wrong?
If you suspect but you're not sure, just do the touch test. The touch test is, girl, I see that you don't come out with us as much as you used to. Everything okay? You can do that.
Okay.
They probably gonna look at you because they're gonna know you know something, but you don't know. But everybody got that one. Every victim have that one friend that they talk to.
Mm-hmm.
They do. They have that one friend. But and when she's ready to reach out, she will. But if you suspect anything, then take her out to lunch, not dinner, or him out to lunch, not dinner. Dinner's checked. Dinner time is checked. Take them out to lunch. Do your little niceties and everything, and just say, I'm just getting a bad feeling about something about you, and I just want to know how can I help you? What is it that I can do to help? That's what you can say.
Mildred, speak briefly to that, because a lot of people assume that men aren't abused.
Oh, no, they are.
Mm-hmm.
They are.
Speak to that, please.
But they don't. Because of the pressure that we put on men to be the providers, the protectors, a lot of men find it difficult to express that they are victims of domestic violence. They may not be physically assaulted, but they are emotionally assaulted. And because that their manhood is being challenged, making them feel like they're less than, or especially if they were raised not to hit a woman or to raise their voice or to say anything derogatory to a woman, but the woman is the abuser, then she will totally walk over him. He doesn't have a say-so. And even in those instances, somebody sees it. Her friends know because she is going to talk to her friends. Girl, he doing A, B, C, and D, and I just got to keep him in check. You don't have to keep a man in check. You don't have to do that.
Wow.
He's not your child. He's a man. You don't have to do that. Same thing with a man. You don't have to raise a woman. She's been raised. Appreciate who you have and go from there. If you feel like you have to control someone, that's an insecure person. And the most dangerous man in the world is one who has nothing to lose. And that's what happened with your friend. He had nothing to lose. He was dangerous. He had nothing to lose. I kill her and what? I'm going to jail? Cool. He had nothing to lose.
That is just terrible. It is scary that we live in this time. 20 years later, Mildred D. Muhammad here on the Outlet with Kei-Touch. MyFocusLLC.com, CEO and founder. And this is how she helps others. You want to check out more about Mildred, MildredMuhammad.com, MyFocusLLC.com. On the other side, I want to talk to Mildred more about My Focus LLC, the impact she's had, Mental Health Awareness Month, which is May right now, and her thoughts on mental health in the military. We got to squeeze a lot in the next segment, Mildred. It's the Outlet with Kei-Touch. Stay with us.
1450 WOL is 100% digital. Download the mobile app for your smartphone or tablet now.
Join us Wednesday, May 11th at 10 o'clock a.m. on WOL 1450 for the Marshall Heights Community Development Organization's Be Informed DMV radio program. Hosts Farrar Tate and Beverly Mann will welcome Council Member at Large Robert White, who is a candidate for D.C. Mayor. Listen as he discusses his views for the District of Columbia. This and more Wednesday, May 11th at 10 o'clock a.m. on WOL 1450. Be Informed DMV. That's Wednesday, May 11th at 10 o'clock a.m. on WOL 1450. Don't miss it.
Attention, if you owe money to the IRS, this is an urgent message. The IRS is cracking down by sending out heart-stopping letters, aggressively garnishing paychecks, seizing bank accounts, and putting liens on homes and businesses. They call it enforced compliance. And you better watch out, because penalties and interest on unpaid taxes compound daily, making it seem impossible to ever get out of debt. Don't let tax debt destroy your life. You need to call Optima Tax Relief, the #1 tax resolution firm. They are experts in the Fresh Start Initiative, one of the biggest breaks that the IRS has ever offered. If you qualify, you could save thousands. Optima's resolved over $1 billion of tax debt for their clients. They have an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau and will fight to get you the best deal possible. Call Optima now for a free consultation.
Call 800-919-9077. 800-919-9077. 800-919-9077. Optima Tax Relief. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
When I grow up, I want to be a teacher because they know a lot of awesome stuff. I'll stand in front of the class and make sure everyone knows what I know.
If your child is sick over and over again, it could be PI, a serious defect of the immune system. Early testing gives children a chance to dream.
And when I'm a teacher, my favorite subject will be recess.
Jeffrey Modell Foundation, helping children reach for their dreams. Visit info.
Welcome back to the Outlet with Kei-Touch. Exclusive interview with Mildred D. Muhammad. 20 years later, Mildred has given out so much information in such a short period of time. We were talking about the tips for bystanders, and we're also talking about tips when you're dating online. And I'm just going to go over it real quick. For the bystanders, look for signs. Like she said, you know your friends, you know your family. And if someone expresses that they are being abused, ask them, how can I help you? Request to take them out for lunch, not dinner. And this can be men and women, not just women are victims of domestic abuse and violence. MyFocusLLC.com, MildredMuhammad.com. So After counseling herself and her children on how to survive victim blaming in the face of adversity, she turned these tragic circumstances into an opportunity to establish ground on all forms of domestic violence that are often overlooked, such as verbal, mental, economical, spiritual, stalking, and emotional abuse. Mildred makes it her mission to not only speak about the specifics and realities of domestic abuse and violence, but also to be a vessel of support in healing for all those that are affected. I mean, this is powerful. A crusader, bringing awareness. And she's promoting, Mildred's written, I think, about 9, 10, 11 books, co-authored a few books, but we're promoting I'm Still Standing, her story. Mildred, I'm going to shift gears. This is Mental Health Awareness Month. I wanted to know your thoughts specifically about mental health awareness and the military, because your ex-husband was in the military, and just your thoughts on that briefly.
Well, when he came from Desert Storm, he was diagnosed with PTSD. And PTSD is not just for the military, it's for anyone that's living in a hostile environment. Victims of domestic violence can experience PTSD and be diagnosed with it, as well as those living in a hostile environment. Mental health in the military is serious. I think, about 3 days ago, there were 2 soldiers on a ship that killed themselves. Wow. It was just a bleep on the news, but that happened. I spoke at a military base in Florida. They drove us onto the post, and there were yellow ribbons around the trees. And, I thought about that song, Tie Yellow Ribbon Around the Old Oak Tree. That means when the soldiers come back from war, that the woman that they were with will still love them. Well, now the military looks at that as suicide people. Those yellow ribbons represent soldiers who committed suicide. So we have to be mindful of them as well. Some people can get through it and some people can't. I remember former General Petraeus speaking at a base conference in Alabama. And he said that if he had the power, he would take off the D on PTS because it's not a disorder. It's soldiers that went to a war zone and came back with such horrific memories that they were unable or felt they could not share with their family members what they did and what they saw for fear that they would be rejected. And so, although I still see the D on PTS, that was his take on it. And we should move forward with that definition as well, because it's not a disorder. Soldiers need help. They come from a war zone, especially now with the war going on in Ukraine. There are soldiers over there. There are American soldiers over there. And so we just have to be mindful, support the soldiers that are here, let them know, ask them the same question. How can I help you? You can say, I'm so thank you for your service, but the next sentence or question should be, how can I help you? What can I do to make your life better? How can I show my appreciation for what you've done? That goes a long way than just saying thank you for your service.
Wow. Mildred Muhammad.com, MyFocusLLC.com. Mildred's work through My Focus has touched the lives of thousands in offices of law enforcement, corporations, global and national organizations, to include the United States Armed Forces, but most importantly, individually, helping people in domestic abuse and violence. And also, she's a coach. You can also go to Mildred just if you need a coach. MyFocusLLC.com. Talk to us about MyFocusLLC.com. And don't forget to mention that 30-minute free consultation, Mildred.
You just did that one.
Well, got it. Yep.
You can go to my website, My Focus LLC. Focus stands for Firm Outcomes Create Undeniable Success. It is my honor and my mission to help you to dig deep into those emotions that are suppressing your greatness. And so we will talk about it and find ways that will help you to become a better version of yourself, the person that you always knew you could be, that you already are, and just don't know it. But there is a free 30-minute consultation. Go on to myfocusllc.com and click on book an appointment, and we can go from there. I've had many success stories. Some of my clients are coming back because they feel that even if they're just talking to me once a week, then their life can be better. So let's go. Let's get the help that you need.
And I just have to say, the thing is, I always consider the source. If you haven't been through anything, I'm not really sure you can help me. But everything that you have experienced and had to overcome, not by choice, you had to. And you established My Focus. Tell them a little bit. I don't want to tell everything. Tell them a little bit about what led you to start MyFocusLLC.com.
But what led me to start it is that I had spoken at several conferences, and there were women coming up to me saying that they've been going to counseling and they've been told that the abuse is their fault and they don't know how to get past it, and they've been in this counseling for years. I said, well, the first thing I would ask you to do is get you a counselor that specializes in victims of domestic violence, because every counselor doesn't know how to approach and handle that type of trauma. And some of them say, look, can you just help me, because I just need somebody that like you, because you know what I've been through, and I really don't have to talk a lot, because you can pretty much pick up on what I'm saying and how I'm feeling. And so I began talking to them over the phone through FaceTime, and they told me that they learned more and healed more with me in a week or two than they have in all of the years they've been in counseling. And some even suggested, you should start coaching or get you a business that you can help other people, and that's when I started doing that.
And how long have you been doing this, Mildred?
About 5 years now.
5 years and touched thousands
so
of
15
people.
years speaking and 5 years coaching.
Wow.
I've had people to reach out to me on social media, through Facebook, Instagram. They've come through my website because they need help. They tried everybody else. And I've even had them just say, I've tried everybody else. You are my last hope.
Wow.
I cannot get anybody to just be straight with me. They tiptoe around me. I said, well, I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to tiptoe. Because I'm trying to save your life. I'm trying to help you to heal. And the only way we're going to do that is with the truth. And we can pick it apart bit by bit. We don't have to do it all on one thing. Little by little, you'll get there. I can promise you that. You'll get there. But we got to deal with the truth. Because Scripture says the truth will make you free, but it didn't say it wouldn't hurt.
Ooh. MyFocusLLC.com, MildredMuhammad.com. The time goes so fast, Mildred, so fast. We are at the end. Take a minute to give your closing thoughts about 20 years later and just share whatever you'd like to share with our audience.
Well, I like to give three numbers.
Okay.
The first number is the domestic violence hotline number. And if you find that you need assistance, that number is 800-799-7233. The suicide hotline number, if you feel you need somebody to talk to because the thoughts in your mind is making you feel or think that you don't need to be here anymore, just understand that suicide is a permanent decision for a temporary problem or a temporary issue. Before you do whatever you think you're going to do, call this number, 800-273-8255. You can also call this number if you are a veteran suffering with PTSD. Same number, 800-273-8255. They will connect you with a veteran who can help you with the emotions that you're feeling and will help you to maneuver through them to get to a better place. And the last number is the National Resource Center on Domestic Violence, because I am an advisor. I'm on the advisory board, and their number is 800-537-2238.
Love it. Again, Mildred D. Muhammad, award-winning global keynote speaker, CEO and founder of My F.O.C.U.S, LLC, international speaker for the U.S. Department of State. But what you need to remember most, MildredMuhammad.com, MyFocusLLC.com. Mildred, again, happy Mother's Day, and thank you so much for taking this time with us today.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate this opportunity so much. And you're doing a great job, so hey.
I appreciate
You're amazing.
That. Thank you, Shiro. Look, it's the Outlet with Kei-Touch. Until next week, peace.